Aloha, my friends, or should I say Aloha Kakayaka, which means good morning in Hawaiian. This is Billy Wigley coming at you live from the 9th Island, Las Vegas, Nevada. How's everybody doing so far? For some reason, it feels like Friday, but it felt like Friday yesterday too. Every day this week has felt like Friday, maybe because it's the last week of the year. And here at Don't Get Mad, Get Skills, we are saying to you, Happy New Year. Get ready for it. And we're going to finish the new year strong. We're going to learn a little bit about, well, let's check this out. Let me open up the spreadsheet right here. And let's say, have you ever had a form that you want somebody to fill out, and they're always putting in the wrong information? For example, they got their name right. They know their name. No problem. They put that in there. And then the meeting date. You want the date to be not today or yesterday. You want it to, or 2 weeks from now. You want the date to be within the next 7 days, just like your instructions indicate. So you've got these instructions right over here saying, hey, look, it must be within the next 7 days. So then you've got somebody that goes in here and puts, okay, it's January 20th, 2021. Enter. You can't do that. And then they get this error message right here. It says, hey, look, this value doesn't match the data validation restrictions defined for this cell because it must be within the next 7 days. And that right there is not within the next 7 days. So then they go right ahead and go, okay, let me retry. And they'll go, all right, let's say it's going to be on the 3rd. And they press enter and boom. That works because it's within the next 7 days. No problem. And then for lunch, then they go right ahead and say, hey, you know what? I want some T-bone steak. T-bone steak. Boom. Hey, you can't do that. The item that you chose is not on the list. Click cancel and select an item from the drop-down list. So we're going to cancel. See, now you don't have any jokers going around putting in, I'm going to just put in whatever I want. No, you can only pick from the list, from an item that you allow. So you click on this cell. There's even instructions right over here. Okay, you see the instructions says, please select a lunch item from the drop-down menu. So I click on the drop-down and, well, there's the items that are you allow. So then they say, okay, you know what? I'm going to just go have a salad then. Boom. And that's it. So then the next thing you can say, hey, are they full-time employees? Yeah, it's a full-time employee. And then we're going to click add. Now, watch this. I click on add, and now we got this form right here where all of the information from that form is being collected on this list. Just like that. First name, last name, the meeting date, what you want, salad, and are they full-time employee? Yes, it's true that they are. Now, how did this take place? Well, this is called data validation. Now, there's a couple things that I'm going to teach y'all today, and we're going to learn how we did this and how we did this. This is called data validation, and that's called data validation. The type of data validation that's in here is we're allowed to pick from a date, and right here, we're picking from a list. Now, this right here is a form control. We will not be learning form controls today. And then right here, if you know what it is that makes that button work and adds this data to that worksheet with list, type it in the comments and let me know what it is. And I got a really special prize for you. So the first person that writes in the comments what makes this add button work, it's only 5 letters for the word that makes that add button work. So the first person that tells me, I got a surprise for you. Now I'll tell you what the surprise is. I got a free Excel course for you coming. All right, so we're going to go right ahead and learn some data validation today. So here we go. The data validation is going to take place inside your data tab in Excel. And in your data tab within Excel, you've got data tools right here, this group. And within the data tools, you've got right there what's called data validation. Now the ribbon may look a little bit different for you because maybe you got a smaller screen and the like, but in the data tools group is where that is. All right, so now I'm gonna put my marquee where I want the desired meeting date to go. And then I go to the data tab, and in the data tab, I'm gonna choose data validation. Okay, so let's choose data validation. Let me zoom right in over here. Pick on data validation. Now look, when you hover over any tool, Excel will tell you exactly what that tool does. It's giving you a tool tip. And this one is telling us that this tool is called data validation, and you can pick from a list of rules to limit the type of data that can be entered in the cell. All right, cool. So let's click on it. And then now the data validation, we can see what's currently in there. And the type of validation criteria, we can say, hey, it can be any value. Now, we don't want them to put just any value. We want it to be a date. Okay, so we click date. And then now we get other options here. And the other option that we get, okay, the data. What do you want it to be? Well, in this case, I want it to be in between. I want it to be within the next 7 days, right? So I'm going to pick in between. And then the start date, instead of putting a specific date, I use a function, the today function. And the today function returns today's date every time you refresh. So if I use the today function in a cell, it's going to give me today's date. I close that spreadsheet. I open it up tomorrow. It's going to have today's date tomorrow, which would be tomorrow's date, because tomorrow would be today. Anyways, we're using the today function that gives us the current date. So for the start date, it's today plus 1, because we can't have people put in today's date. It's got to be after today, within the next 7 days. So the start date is today plus 1, and the end date is today plus 7 days later. And now here we see that an input message. An input message is that little pop-up that appears that gives us instructions on what type of data to enter. So the input message for this one, there's no input message because we actually have instructions. We have this note that tells us that it must be in the next 7 days. So that took the place of the input message. Now the error alert. Well, there's different styles of error alerts. There's the stop, which is if you don't put in the dates that match the criteria, which is within the next 7 days, then you can't go any further. Now we can give this error message a title, and we can create the error message that says, hey, don't do this, or whatever it is you want to type. Or we can just leave it alone and have the system provide the default message. We could also say, hey, let's just give them a warning. And then the warning means, hey, you really shouldn't do this, but you can if you want to. And then there's the information that says, hey, look, if you go ahead and do this, you're not going to have the right day. You're not going to probably get your food when you're supposed to, so you should just do it like we want you to. Well, in this case, let's just make it stop. You just can't proceed if you don't pick the right date. And so let's double check. Error alert, we're going to leave the system default message. No input message here because we've got instructions. Must be in the next 7 days. And then for the settings, we pick the validation criteria date. The data, we want it to be in between the start date and the end date. We picked within the next 7 days. All right. So then I press OK. So now we know that we can put in today's date, for example, and that's not going to work, right? Because it's today plus 1. See, that doesn't work. And there's the default error message that we get right there. So I'm just going to cancel, and I'm going to put in a date, and I'm going to say, tomorrow. Press enter, and we're fine. Now you see, when I click on this cell right here for select a lunch item, there's a pop-up that appears. That's what we typed in. Select lunch from an item from a drop-down menu. All right, so let's go right back to the data tab. And in the data tab, let's click on the data tools in data validation. And let's see how this is working. So for the settings, we're going to allow picking not any value. We want to pick from a list, okay? Well, where is this list? Well, this list is on a different sheet. And you see how I'm writing right in here? Equals lunch. because this list right here is a defined name. See how the marching ants marquee is going around it? See right above it? See that? It says lunch in the name box. Well, that range, that list, I gave it a name. So let's cancel right here. I've got a list for drop-down menus. This is on a separate sheet. I could have put this list way down on the bottom here someplace, but I'm using it for other forms. So I've got it on a separate sheet within my workbook. So these are the lunch items that we can pick from for this particular form that we're filling out. Once I show you how to do this, we're going to use all these other items. I created the list, the lunch items, salad, burger, pizza, sandwich. And then once I put in that list, I selected it. And then I went into my name box. And then right here in the name box, I typed lunch. So that I gave it that name range, lunch. This one right here is called salad, the type of, the type of salad. This right here, when we pick a burger, it's the type of burger. When we pick a pizza, that's the type of pizza. When we pick a sandwich, that's the type of sandwich. We're not doing that right now yet. We just created a list first for this first form, this simple form. And we gave it a name. That defined name range is called lunch. So now what I'm going to do is we go back to our data validation. Select the lunch item. Okay, we're going to allow from a list. Well, where is that list? We're just going to say equals lunch because that's the name of the range, lunch. The input message that we want is select from a list. That's what you see right here. See, it says select from a list. Select from a list. Please select a lunch item from the drop-down menu. And that's what we typed in right in here. Simple as that. And then for the error alert, see how in this case we made it a stop and we went ahead and we typed in what we wanted the error message to be and the title of this error message. So all the settings are in place. Now I press OK and I can say good. I'm going to want a burger just like that or a salad, whichever it is that you want. Now remember, tomorrow we're going to talk about the form control and what this is. All right, so right there is simple data validation. Now, what would happen if I said, hey, I want a burger, but in this cell right here, I could select what type of burger. Or if I say, hey, you know what, I actually want a pizza. And then in this cell, it would allow me to choose what type of pizza. So let's do this. It's called the dependent dropdown. And it's called dependent dropdown because this dropdown right here depends on whatever I put into what I select from this list right there. All right. So here we have our form. Once again, put in the first name. It's Billy Wigley, just like Piggly Wiggly. And then the meeting date, we got the same instructions. Must be within the next 7 days. So I put in today's date. That's not going to work. So I'm going to say it's for tomorrow. That's fine. And then let's check it right out. We're going to select an item from this list. And I'm going to go with a pizza. And then when we look at the meal item, well, what kind of pizza? When I click on the drop down, these are the pizza options that I have. Because this list is dependent on whatever we pick in this cell. So for example, if I pick a salad, then it would say, well, what kind of salad? Garden, pasta, taco. And let's look at defined name ranges. So here we go. We created this first range. That's called lunch, right here, lunch. And then let's say we got this other one that's, pizza. So when I select pizza, this named range is called pizza. The next one is called sandwich, and this one right here is called burger. So you see the name ranges right in here? Okay, defined names. They come in handy. Defined name ranges come in really handy. I love using defined name ranges. So now, the type of salad that I want is pasta salad. just like that. So now let's see, how do we create a dependent drop-down list? Now, I don't need to show you how to do this one. That's data validation. We already did it. Now I don't really need to show you how we did this one. I need to show you how this particular item works. These two right here we just did them from the simple form. Now we're going to create the dependent drop-down. All right. So let me just go right to put the marquee in the cell that I want to put in my data validation. Then once again, we go to our data tab in the ribbon, go to our data tools group and click on data validation. So let's go right on over here. And now for the settings, now notice in that particular cell, I want to allow items from a list. See, when I say any value, that means you can put anything you want, right? So the moment that I choose from a list, data validation tool is going to ask me, well, where's that list? Well, the source is going to be an indirect of C5. This is C5 right here. So the indirect of C5. In other words, whenever I type in, they say I select salad, the source for the lunch item is going to be the defined name range tied to what's in C5. And for the input message, I'm not going to have an input message, and I'm not going to have an error message on here. But you can if you want to. I'm just doing a stop. All right. So here we go. When we select a salad, when I click on the drop down, it's going to say what type of salad. Because it's calling out the defined name range, the indirect of C5 right here. Let's take a look at that indirect function again. All right. The indirect function of C5. And right now, because we picked salad, the indirect function of C5 is this. Now let's cancel this and let me pick a different one. Let's pick a burger, data validation tools, and let me click on the next cell. And the indirect for burger, when I click on the source field, is going to be one of these items right here, hamburger. Okay, so we're using the indirect function as the source. Simple as that. So I pick a burger. The indirect is going to be this list that's called burger. And I'm going to go with a cheeseburger. Just like that. That's data validation, my friends. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about the form control right here and how we get this to work and what this button is. Remember, if you know what I'm doing so that when I press add, this data is populated onto a different worksheet, go ahead and type it right into the comments, and I've got a free course coming for you. And remember, my friends, come check out Don't Get Mad, Get Skills. And remember, look in the description below if you're watching on YouTube, all right, and or go to my website right here, Don't Get Mad, Get Skills. Go to webinars, and when you click on the webinars, it's going to let you know what webinars are upcoming. And I've got a webinar coming on January 8th where I'm going to share with you my 30 favorite Excel power tips. This is one of them, data validation. There's a few others, conditional formatting, VLOOKUPs, format painter, keyboard shortcuts. I'm going to share my 30 favorite power tips with you. And the moment you're done with that webinar, you're going to rock at Excel. Not only because you're going to know a lot more, because I'm going to make sure that you got the confidence necessary, and we're going to remove all the fear. So my friends, come check it out. Go to Don't Get Mad, Get Skills. Click on webinars. If you're watching this on YouTube, go right ahead and you know what to do. Click on subscribe. Hit the little bell icon notification so that you're notified whenever I start a live stream here on YouTube. Or if you're watching me on Twitter, I love you. And as always, my friends, I want to say to you, keep on learning. And remember, don't get mad, get skills. Aloha.